Hey everybody, it's time for another Cyber City Circuits Cyberbox monthly soldering kit. Let's go ahead and put this one together. Check out the new boxes. What do you think? We just got these. This is the first time we're shipping our subscription box in one of these boxes. I'm pretty happy about it. Let's get this open. I'm going to use my handy dandy Cyber City Circuits wire cutters. Just kind of break this tape, pop it open, see what we get inside. Alright, so each box should come with a little card that explains how a 555 timer works. You got a picture of it, you got a little diagram to show you all the pinouts, and then the pins are described on this side. It's pretty neat. Thank you card, a sticker. Everybody loves stickers. This piece of paper that has some generalized instructions and descriptions. Okay, pictures, but the main tutorial is at 9050.cybercitycircuits.com. So visit that for more detailed instructions. You may be there now. That might be where you're looking at this video. If you're not, go check out that website. It's going to have better instructions. And then we have the kit. So this month, we're doing a red and blue strobe kit. Let's go ahead and dump this out and take a look. This bag open. Get all these parts out of there. Lots of really cool parts. And in our piece of paper, we have a list of all the parts that we're supposed to have. So let's check it real quick, right? 555 timer, 8-pin sockets. Well, there's our 2 timers and our 2 sockets. 470 ohm resistor and a 68K ohm resistor. That's a 68,000. Resistors have 2 of each. Well, we got that one, and we got that one. Pretty neat. And then the color code is laid out on the paper too. One 0.1 microfarad capacitor. That's that right there, that little yellow one. A red, 5 red LEDs, 5 blue LEDs. And we got all those. A battery harness, got that. A battery and a PCB, got that. And then there's also, I somehow missed the piece of paper. Oops. There's also this little capacitor. We'll go over that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's zoom down some. First, we're going to put on our resistors. Now, you remember, there's 2 different kinds of resistors, and there's 2 each of them. We have our 470 ohms, which is yellow, violet, brown. Well, that's these. We got these. These are the 470s. And then the 68,000 or 68K ohm is blue, gray, orange. Well, that's these. Okay, so we got these. And so the 470s are going to go in R3 and R4, and the 68Ks go in R2 and R1. Let's move some of this over. And let's put them on the board. So the 470s are the yellow, violet, brown. That's this. Let's go ahead and put those in R3 and R4. So I'm just going to bend them down like this, right? And I'm just going to push them through the board just like that. And we're going to do all 4 resistors at the same time. Now I'm going to put that through. Bam. And then we got these 2. Another trick is you can go ahead and you can bend the leads while they're still on the tape. And sometimes that's easier to get them all bent. Saves a little bit of time. Not that important. And I'll go ahead and I'll put these in R1. Yep. And then R2. See, wasn't that easy? That's great. And so I'm just going to solder these on real quick. Now don't forget, if you're soldering, make sure you wear safety glasses. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat this up just like that. See, my tip's kind of dirty, so that's going to make it harder to clean. So I'm going to use my cleaning sponge. Now it's bright and shiny. That's what you want. You want your tip to always be bright and shiny. If it's not, go give it a clean real quick. So that resistor's done. Let's do this one. Done. Look how easy that is. Just put some heat on it. If you put too much solder on a pin, that's okay. You just heat it back up. And then what you do is, when the solder's wet, is you put up the pin like that. And then what they'll do is it'll take all your excess solder, or a lot of it anyway, and then put it on the actual leg of the resistor. You're going to cut that off anyway. That's a good way to make a good, clean, soldered joint. Let's do this one. Oh, a little bit more. Gravity's actually working against me on this one. There we go. So I'm going to clean my tip, put it back in the holder, take my snippers, snip, 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 snip. Now remember, when you're snipping these, try not to get them on the floor. They get in people's feet, and they're not very happy. Even if it's not you. It could be anybody. They won't be happy about it. So next, I'm going to go ahead, because whenever we do this, we do the lowest profile parts first, and then we move up. So I'm going to put the sockets in next. These are the sockets. Now, let's zoom in a little bit. Oh. I lost you. Oops. Let's zoom in a little bit. So that's an IC. That's an IC footprint. And you see how it has a little dent on the side right there? Well, the socket has that same little indentation. See that? So that shows you how the socket's supposed to go in the board, how you're supposed to orientate it. Same thing for this one. See that? Now with the sockets themselves, it doesn't matter too much. But with the IC, the socket that goes in the socket, that's what the socket's for, is for the IC. It does matter. So we want to make sure we get those in there right. Now, whenever doing lots of rows of pins, I highly recommend going up and down. You know, you could do it this way, but you're going to have more solder bridges that way. If you turn the board to where you're just going up and down, it works a little bit better. Let me show you. So get my iron, I clean my tip. And so that I just heat up that pin, and I move to the next one. The idea is you're not having to move your hand very much. See, look at that. So you heat up the pin, you apply the solder, you remove the solder, remove the heat. It's that quick. Look at that. And if one of them doesn't look like it has enough solder, you can just go back through. You can heat up the pins individually. And it'll reflow them. It'll make it nice and neat. And we're just going to move it up. Let's do this one real quick. The whole idea is that you get a good solid workflow. You can go back later and clean it up if you need to. But the idea is that you're consistent with how you're doing it. If you could be consistent with your soldering, it'll work out a lot better for you in the long run. You can make mistakes, but as long as you're consistently making the same mistake, it's easier to fix. Because then all you have to do, you don't have to change much. You just have to change that one thing you're doing wrong. Bam. Isn't that nice? So next, let's go ahead and do our 0.1 microfarad cap. Let me tell you a little bit about this part. If you look on the other side, it says 104. See that? That 104 tells you that it's 0.1 microfarad, or 0.1 times 10 to the negative 6. Okay? So you want a 104 cap. Now, one of the problems with this particular board is that the cap is that the pins on the cap are actually 5 millimeters apart, but we accidentally made the board where they're 2.5 millimeters apart. So you're going to have to jam in there a little bit. It doesn't matter what direction they're in. You can go one way or the other. Doesn't matter. But you're going to have to like kind of rig it in there. It'll be fine. As long as the pins aren't touching, it'll be fine. Just like that. Okay? So let's go ahead. Let's solder that on. So let's go ahead and solder that capacitor on real quick. So while you're watching this, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Have you purchased one of our kits before? Do you have any feedback? Is this your first one? Did you do last month's kit? Last month we shipped out a music keyboard. We're pretty happy with that kit. Did you do that kit? How'd it turn out? Next, I want to do the LEDs. Now, there are 10 LEDs on this board. So, we could try doing all 10 of them at the same time. Let's see how it works out. Now, just like before, you see how the LEDs, they have two different lengths of leads. One's longer than the other. This is important. The longer lead is positive. You cannot put diodes in backwards. They will not work. Now, on the board, zoom in down a little bit. You see how there's two pads. There's a square pad and a circle pad. The circle pad is for the positive lead. So you're going to put all your longer leads in the circle pad and your shorter leads in the long pad. Does that make sense? Just always double check. They're really hard to fix if you put them in backwards. So just try not to, right? So just double check when placing LEDs, and you'll be fine. Let's get that in there. Hold on. And you'll be fine. You should be able to push the LEDs all the way down to the bottom of the board so that they sit there. And the cool thing is, the way the LEDs are, they have these little long parts on them. So once you get them in there, they don't really fall out. Yeah, let's cut that part out. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out. Whoa. Let's go ahead and put the rest of them in real quick. So that's a blue. And that's a red. And that's a blue. And that's a red. You see they alternate. Now this design's really cool. This is an older design. The 555 timer, the chip that we're using for this design, it's old. It's one of the most common integrated circuits in the world. It's used in so many products. And it's just really well done. It's kind of like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So let's go ahead. We're going to take our leads for LEDs, and while we're holding the LED close to the board, we're just going to bend the leads back. See that? Bend the leads back, just like that. See that? So now that they're done, I'm going to orient my board where I can go straight up and down, right? And I'm going to do all the LEDs real quick. So I'll do the right side, and then I'll flip the board around, and then I'll do the other side. See? Now flip it over. Oh, battery holder's going with me. Oh, I accidentally soldered that to the LED. That's wild. And at this point, if you get a bridge or two, it's okay. We can fix it later. I think I see one on mine already. Just don't stress out about it yet. There's easy ways to fix it once we clip the leads. Alright, so then I'm only left with the center ones. The ones in the middle. So I'm going to get that one. And then I'm going to get this one down here. Okay. So now let's go ahead and cut all those leads. Remember, when cutting these, be mindful where they're going. You don't want them to end up on the floor. You don't want them to end up in your face. Even though you're wearing safety glasses, right? Also, when you're cutting them, try not to cut them super flush to the board. You want to have a little bit of a lead left. Just a little bit. But you don't want to cut it flat to the board. Okay, so now I see a tiny little baby soldering bridge. See that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my tip. I'm going to just heat it up and then wick the solder away. Isn't that cool? And then if in my LEDs are crooked, like that little blue one right there, that could be closer to the board. So all I have to do is hold it, squeeze it a little bit, and then heat up the solder. And then it'll get a little bit closer. It's fine like it is. All right, so next, I want to put the, let's zoom back out. Not the 9-volt adapter, but our electrolytic capacitor. That's what this is. Now, you notice on electrolytic capacitors, one side has a little stripe on it, and the other side doesn't. The side with the stripe is the negative side, okay? So, on the board, you see one side has a little plus right there, and one side has a line. The plus is for the not stripe side. And also, if you look, one lead's longer than the other. The longer lead, guess what? It's the positive, just like on LEDs. So I'm going to clean my tip, apply a little bit of solder, like that, and like that. Done. And then I'll clip it. And then my 9-volt adapter. Just like this. So I'll take this. You see you have a positive end and a negative end for the battery. So we'll put that in there right there, just like that. Just like that. Oops. The negative came loose. Let me go ahead. I'll put the the positive came loose. So I'm going to go ahead and solder the negative on and go back and push the positive one back through. It's no big deal. And then put a little bit of solder on that one. Just like that. See? Easy. One part left. We have to put our ICs in there, our 555 timers. We're going to do it one at a time. So you see, they come out. These actually have 8 pins. And one side has a dot and it has a little indentation on it, just like our sockets. Well, we're going to try to make the indentions match and then kind of slide it in there. You might have to push a little bit to get the pins in the socket all the way, but don't push on the IC until you know all the pins are in the socket. Okay? If you push on it with one pin not in the socket, you might break it on accident. Does that make sense? So, let's see here. With this one, I'll put one side in the socket. And I'll put that side in the socket. Push it down. Done. And if you accidentally put them in backwards, it's okay. Just take them back out. Maybe use a tiny little screwdriver. Pop them out. Change them around. You're okay. So now we got our battery. And I'll plug in my battery. You ready? I'm going to turn off the light so you can see it a little bit better. So I'll plug in my battery. And there you go. So a little strobe light. What do you think? That was easy, right? So check it out. There you go. A little red and blue strobe kit. You built it yourself. It wasn't that difficult. Leave a comment down below. Tell us how your experience went. Look forward to making more kits for you. Check us out at cybercitycircuits.com and have a great day.